WINS, WINS-FM and HD1 New York. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
More people get their news from 1010 Wins than from any other radio station in the nation. Eileen LaPalmer, our writer, Gary Souter at the editor's desk, and I'm Asho Kabbalah.
All news, all the time. This is 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM, New York.
Good afternoon. 56 degrees now at 5 o'clock. I'm Donna Vaughn. And here's what's happening. Have you had it with this weekend's wet weather? Well, the rain hasn't quite had it with us yet. More on the forecast coming up live from AccuWeather. The details aren't clear just yet, but we're following word that the final touches are being put on an agreement to end the conflict with Iran and allow ships through the Gulf of Hormuz again. A demand for the closure of a controversial ICE detention center in Newark.
This place needs to shut down, and these people need to be able to get out.
So say political leaders in New Jersey who were finally allowed to tour the facility yesterday. A search underway for a gunman in the Bronx after someone was shot and killed on the street last night. And what's the secret to Jeopardy's success? Well, the GOAT turned host of the long-running show, Ken Jennings, now sharing what helped him win a record 74 Jeopardy games in a row. Well, the Mets losing today. The Yankees won, though. The Liberty and Dallas Wings now playing in Brooklyn. AccuWeather says spotty drizzle into tonight, low 55, and a few showers around into the morning, though high 74 and maybe some afternoon sun for Memorial Day. Wins News Time, 5:01. Let's get you where you need to go. Here's Jeff Jensen.
Sun would be nice. This is not so nice. Here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. About a 30-minute ride in to both levels of the GWB, which is not that bad, really, for Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening. Outbound about 30 from the Cross Bronx. So the Deegan's really bad. Northbound up to the bridge, Harlem River Drive 2. Best way to get to the bridge is using the west side, which is trouble-free. Lincoln's not bad. Holland Tunnel a little bit slow inbound, especially coming off the covered roadway, the Newark Bay Extension Mall, where they come together. They're both pretty busy. So about 15 to 20 in there. Trouble in New Jersey continues with an accident investigation. Now they've got one lane open on the westbound side of 80 right by exit 61. Still quite busy there, though. You might want to consider taking Route 46 instead. And there's a crash in the north and western spur of the Turnpike as you get up toward before the Vince Lombardi service area, but pretty busy at that spot right now. And here is what we see on Long Island's Big Three. This is where things are okay. No issues on the LIE, no problems on the northern states. Southern moves nicely from Route 110 all the way into the city line. No issues at all. Jeff Jensen, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.
Well, as far as the forecast goes, today has been a total loss, but it sounds like there's a little bit of a chance that Memorial Day might be salvageable. We'll go live now to AccuWeather meteorologist Carl Erickson for the latest on the forecast. Carl?
That's right, Don. Even today, just a slight, ever so slight improvement. We had that steady soaking rain yesterday. A lot of that steadier rain moved east to today. Still a lot of low clouds, some fog and drizzle, and those rather raw, chilly temperatures as well, into the mid-50s right now. But tomorrow, if we had to find some improvement, it would be that rain will be confined to the morning. We'll begin to dry things out by around noontime, and more importantly, may even have some breaks of sun, even some warmer temperatures, up to 74 tomorrow. So not summer-like warmth yet, but given how cool and chilly it has been recently, tomorrow is looking to be the better of the holiday weekend in this 3-day stretch. Donna?
Now, Carl, you know all this rain this weekend has caused a problem with toppling trees around the tri-state. They're uprooting right out of the soggy ground and causing trouble, like in Central Park, where one massive tree fell near 63rd Street and Central Park Drive, right in the middle of the roadway, blocking the cars. Now in New Jersey, NJT trains were suspended for a little bit last night because of a tree that fell right onto the tracks. And in Brooklyn, several parked cars were crushed by a tree that came down on Union Street in Brownsville. No one's been hurt, but proceed with caution today around any large old trees as this wet weather continues. And of course, keep it locked here at 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM. And AccuWeather will be keeping tabs on the forecast for us and keep us up to date. Well, the Trump administration says there could be movement soon on an agreement that would end the Iran war. The details are not so clear just yet, but there is some information getting out.
Officials in the region say that Iran has agreed to give up its stockpile of highly enriched uranium. That is a key ingredient needed to make a nuclear bomb. Iran will also agree to reopen the Strait of Hormuz to shipping traffic.
And as correspondent Joe Fetterman, as some of President Trump's own allies say they're not happy with what they've been hearing so far about the proposed agreement. For one, Iran has not said publicly that they'd be willing to give up their uranium. In fact, Iran's president says his country has an inalienable right to nuclear technology, though he insists Iran is not interested in having a weapon of mass destruction, and they're ready to assure the world of that. The agreement in hand also calls for Iran to gradually reopen the Strait of Hormuz, reportedly, and allow ship traffic to pass again. And Iran shut down the waterway, that is, after it was attacked, causing a worldwide energy crisis, driving huge price spikes for oil and gas. Analysts say even after the strait reopens, though, it would take weeks or even months for prices to recover. Some lawmakers in New Jersey describing what they call dehumanizing conditions at an ICE detention facility in Newark. Senator Andy Kim says he and Congressman Rob Menendez got to speak with immigrant detainees at Delaney Hall yesterday during an oversight visit.
They talked about inhumane treatment, talked about the poor food, they talked about the water tasting disgusting. I myself drank from the fountain. It's certainly problems that we need to make sure we're following up on.
And some of the detainees have been on a hunger strike to protest the conditions. They've been calling for the release of elderly detainees and young people, as well as anyone with a health condition. Governor Sherrill has now issued a statement. It says in part that she is deeply disturbed by reports of poor conditions, and she's contacted ICE to gain access to the facility herself. The Department of Homeland Security, though, insisting there is not a hunger strike currently going on at Delaney Hall, and they insist those being held are being given 3 meals a day, clean drinking water, and access to medical care. Fatal gun violence overnight in the Bronx. Police investigating the death of a 29-year-old man shot and killed shortly before 12:30 this morning in front of an apartment building on Haviland Avenue. Officers found Jonathan Valentine of Maywood, New Jersey, with a gunshot to the chest after getting a 911 call, but it's not clear exactly what happened to him or who's responsible. A popular lesbian bar in Park Slope has canceled some Pride events due to noise complaints. Now, their supporters say enough is enough.
Pride Month is turning down the volume at Ginger's. The Brooklyn lesbian bar canceled most of their DJ events over noise complaints.
You can quiet them, but you're not going to cancel us. So
some supporters say Ginger's is a safe space.
You moved into a town that you knew that this was the town that is going to uplift gay voices and diversity, and that's on you.
Brooklyn Borough President Antonio Reynoso tweeting the cancellations are part of a bigger problem, saying cultural spaces and community celebrations are being pushed out.
Because we look forward to these events all the time. The community is changing way too much.
The bar says some Pride celebrations are still on. Shanice Archer, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM in Park Slope.
And we've contacted Ginger's, reached out to them for comment, waiting to hear back. A House Democrat from Long Island is calling on his Republican colleagues to help stop President Trump's so-called anti-weaponization fund. That's the $1.8 billion pot of taxpayer money that would compensate Trump supporters that claim to have been wrongly prosecuted during the Biden administration. But critics call it a slush fund. Tom Suozzi, along with Pennsylvania Republican Brian Fitzpatrick, have introduced a bill that Suozzi says would block the fund.
This is clearly one of those things that I think there will be overwhelming bipartisan support once we can get the discharge position done, if necessary.
Now, some Republicans have criticized the giant fund for using taxpayer money and not banning January 6th rioters who attacked police from being eligible for payouts. But another congressman from this area, Republican Mike Lawler, is defending it.
When it comes to any agreements that the president has made with the IRS, from my vantage point, I think looking back at what the Biden administration did, they certainly weaponized the government and were targeting the president.
Now, President Trump demanded the fund in exchange for dropping a lawsuit against the IRS, though many say it's like he's suing himself. He filed suit because his tax returns were leaked, even though that happened during his administration. We have 56 degrees right now, a little drizzle in Midtown. Traffic and the full AccuWeather forecast next. The oldest living survivor of the attack on Pearl Harbor still sharing his memories of that fateful event that pushed the U.S. into World War II, even at his ripe old age of 106. We'll tell you about him shortly, but first, Wins News Time 511. Let's get you where you need to go with Jeff Jensen.
It's a bumper-to-bumper crawl in New Jersey on the westbound side of 80, approaching exit 61 for Route 20. Only the right lane getting by. It's an accident investigation. Now, Stuart called in the tip line. Thank you, Stuart, for calling at 844-JAM-1010, 526-1010. He says it looks like construction, too, but I believe they've got the cones out there just to get you over to the right. I mean, they might have a construction vehicle out there, but nonetheless, the right lane, the only one open. If you can get over to Route 46, that might be a great idea, if you can get there, of course. There's a crash being cleared from the westbound side of Route 3. This is Route 3 right around Main Avenue and Clifton. At least one lane is taken out there. And that's not enough in New Jersey. Northbound Western Spur will ask you north of Route 3 before you get to the Vince Lombardi service area. So as your option, take the Eastern Spur instead. Here is what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. 15 to 20 into both levels of the GWB, which is not bad for a Sunday night. Outbound about 25 off the Cross Bronx and pretty busy from the Deegan Tucci drive to get to the bridge. Harlem River Drive is slow on the ramp to the bridge. The west side, the best side, no troubles there. The Lincoln moving well. The Holland Tunnel 15 minutes in. And you're slow getting to Staten Island over the Gothels. The outer bridge is better. Jeff Jensen, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM.
Well, let's see what's up now with the wet AccuWeather forecast. Here is meteorologist Carl Erickson.
All right, Donna, and still some pockets of rain across Long Island, also along the Jersey Shore. Some of that activity moving northeastward, but for the most part, a lot of low clouds and fog, drizzle, just a rather damp, chilly, raw feel to the air today, very much like yesterday, with temperatures holding nearly steady tonight around 55. But tomorrow, likely the best day out of this holiday weekend as far as the weather goes. Now, there will be some showers around during the morning, and then that activity will begin to fade away around midday. Should dry things out for the afternoon. In fact, the sky may brighten up. More importantly, warmer temperatures tomorrow compared to these last 2 days. High 74 and dropping down to 62 tomorrow night. Even warmer Tuesday into Wednesday as we get out of this pattern we've been locked in with more in the way of sunshine Tuesday. High 78. Wednesday's high much warmer. High 84. Right now it is 55 and cloudy. Winds east at 8 miles per hour. Repeating the current temperature 55, and that'll be our low tonight in Midtown. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Kai Erickson on New York's weather station. 1010 wins on 92.3 FM.
Well, the nation pauses to remember those who died in service to the country on this Memorial Day weekend. Commemoration ceremonies and other events taking place coast to coast, and that includes the yearly observation at Pearl Harbor, where more than 2,300 service members died during that fateful 1941 attack.
America's oldest Pearl Harbor survivor is keeping the attack's memory alive this Memorial Day weekend.
My name is Freeman Johnson.
Freeman Johnson is 106 years old and was aboard the USS St. Louis that infamous day.
December 7th, 1941. December 7th, 1941.
Johnson was a so-called fireman and was far below deck helping repair a boiler.
I didn't see anything. Nothing.
Didn't hear the anti-aircraft fire aimed at attacking Japanese planes.
Johnson is one of only 11 Pearl Harbor survivors that are still alive. That was correspondent Sagar Magani. Now, despite the rainy weather, the Intrepid Museum is preparing to host veterans and active duty military tomorrow for its annual Memorial Day commemoration. Mayor Mamdani and Council Speaker Julie Menon will be among the speakers. So will Admiral Carl Thomas, the